we've been talking a lot about brand building and brand strategy over the last couple of days. So let's go a little farther down into the customer journey, and especially what shapes shopper marketing takes in a digital environment and the ways in which digital impact the real world shopper marketing traditions. We're going to, let me bring in our moderator, Denise Blasevick, who is the co-founder and CEO of the S3 agency. Hi, Denise, where are you today?
There we go. I'm in New Jersey.
You're in New Jersey. My old stomping grounds. I wanted you to join me as we put up a poll that we want to ask all the attendees, because related to digital shopper marketing, of course, is the rise of the retail media network. So we want to ask all of you, in which retail media network do you expect to increase your investment most in 2021? And please pick two: Walmart, Target, Costco, CVS, Instacart, which has really come on strong in the last year for obvious reasons, Kroger, or Amazon. This will be really interesting. Denise, what are you seeing in the market with some of your clients when it comes to how they're dealing with retail media networks and where they're putting their money?
It's really interesting. I don't think there's any one particular path that any of my clients are following, nothing like that they're all doing together. But one thing that I'm finding really interesting is that Costco is, as far as I understand it, the only of the major retailers that is primarily a male shopper. And that to me is a huge opportunity. I think so many times we hear everyone going after the same kind of shopper. And just like the example earlier today from Betty Crocker, sometimes thinking about, the guy shoppers and CPG is an important avenue to go after.
Funny you should say that. Let's end the poll, because I'm seeing the answers as they come in. Let's end the poll. And Costco is the one that no one is investing more in. So you were right into really zeroing on an opportunity there, because nobody else is looking at it.
Opportunity.
But clearly the big are going to get bigger. I mean, the amount, look at how many people are going to increase their 62% going to increase their Amazon investment, 47% to increase in Walmart. The only other one that comes close is Instacart. That's going to be interesting. But I am going to get out of your way, Denise, and let us bring in the experts who really can talk about the broader swath of digital shopper marketing. So take it away.
Great. Well, we have an amazing panel today, and hopefully they're going to be putting themselves on video so you can see them all. But we've got Allie from Lactalis Yogurt, we've got Fred from Freak Flag, and we've got Lisa from Hostess. Oh, there we are. We see two of you. And there we go. So we had a chance to catch up before this, and my mind was blown by some of the things I heard. So I'm going to just jump in here. We really want to be talking about how different things are when it comes to shopper marketing, what we're calling the virtual Endcap. I mean, something we really didn't have a phrase for a year ago. And I'd love to start with the first question going to Fred, and then circulating through. How are you seeing concepts from the IRL in real life shopper marketing translate or evolve when it comes to online?
I always like to be last, but I'll go first. So, one thing that's really happened for us when we're an emerging brand, we're small, we're a challenger brand, all the various names you could give us as a neophyte, and we got into Whole Foods nationally, and of course we thought we were going to be doing all these demos, and as we know, we weren't able to do the demos. So the big thing that we ended up using that has really helped us or evolved was to go with this group called Social Nature, and quite frankly, we've had a couple engagements with them where they'll go out and recruit 10 some odd thousand people to go out. We give them coupons, they buy the product, and they're kind of our demo team. And then they post the reviews, thousands of reviews online, and then we get feedback on what they think of the product, so we can tweak it, this, that, and the other thing. While at the same time, we also can use content for our own posting. So the big learning for us was taking demos online, is what I would suggest.
Yeah, that's a great one. Allie, what are your thoughts?
First of all, thanks for including us in the conversation here. Definitely this phygital space is the hot buzzword, I would say, of 2021. One of the things that we're doing to kind of pull through in store and online is making sure that we're kind of telling the Stonyfield story from couch to shelf, right? So talking about our points of differentiation, giving our shoppers and consumers a stake in the story and an ability to join in the story, as well as really learn about what the points of difference are in our organic yogurt offerings for their families. So I think that that's really kind of the most significant pivot, I would say, of how we kind of bridge that gap.
Great, thank you. And Lisa, Hostess.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to what Fred and Allie have shared, I think one important thing that we've noticed is the act of discovery is changing as more and more consumers, are coming online and are comfortable with online shopping, particularly grocery shopping. That in-store display that we all know and love and have known for decades now, has translated, has evolved into the online space, and it's through digital banner ads and header ads and following the shopper through their experience or through their own consumer purchase journey, between the digital and the physical, right? As they move between these sort of mixed modes of shopping, that act of discovery has really evolved. And so you can discover a product not only by going in store and seeing those wonderful displays or seeing it on shelf as you browse the aisles, but you can now do it, in the digital space as well, browsing digital aisles through banner ads, mobile alerts, social media. So all of that active discovery has really changed as the consumers have changed their modes of shopping.
Yeah, and it's really interesting where we already had our millennials who were oftentimes doing their grocery shopping online, right? Or, if they were going in store, they were doing the perimeter instead of doing the up and down impulse stuff that we love a lot of times. So I think a brand like yours already had a little bit of a head start on how to address this, but I'd like to keep it with you for a second and just talk about that impulse. Like, how do you capture impulse buying online?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I don't know if we've really cracked the nut on that. I think we're all trying to, those of us that play in the impulse category are still trying to figure this out, right? But I think certainly with platforms emerging like, GoPuff, or even convenience store channels that are now coming online, like 7-Eleven now, these are all huge steps forward in that space of convenience shopping, right? So the true C-store convenience shopping is definitely moving very quickly into the digital space, but then convenience as it's on its own is sort of everywhere now, right? You can think of a snack or a food item that you want, and it can be to your door in under 2 hours, which is amazing, right? So we are really trying to focus a lot more on the digital consumer journey, which is incredibly fragmented today, as again, consumers shift between physical and digital all the time. Even when they're in the store, they're shifting between the physical and the digital, right? So we're trying to figure out, well, how do, our shoppers truly move? Are they moving, all in the same way? Are they moving differently? And then how do you interject your brand into each of those different points online? But certainly the evolution of convenience has really aided our ability to reach consumers, in the right time and the right moment.
Yeah, great answer. And I think
Add to that.
maybe this question isn't oh, go ahead.
I was going to add to that it's also about meeting shoppers where they are too, and making sure that any touch point that you have with that shopper are opportunities to close that sale. And it should be something that is embedded in the overall strategy, right, on how you reach those shoppers, and making sure that your touch points on social, are simple add to carts, right? It's a simple thing to integrate, and it's really important to capture that sale. It's almost kind of another way in a new sense, thinking about how to leverage influencers, right? So having that Instagram post or that targeted Facebook ad become a shoppable moment where the shopper doesn't even have to leave their couch, or could add it to their list to complete their shopping trip once done. It's something that I know that a lot of brands, including Lactalis is making sure that we're integrating into our shopper marketing support plans and digital support plans for this year.
Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, I'm thrilled that we found this influencer agency called Sway that can help us with that. Just the integration, and quite frankly, getting that much closer to the users or the people like the consumers that we're hoping to get excited about our brand and our product as a new brand. But once again, always having that storytelling and that combined with the opportunity for hopefully a closed sale right there at your fingertips.
Yeah, and this, you know, obviously we have very different kinds of brands on this panel, right? And from Hostess, right, on the one side of just that's the comfort food, you know, maybe you shouldn't eat it, but you want to eat it all the time. And then, you know, we have two healthier brands here too. And I think people are, you know, kind of finding moments for both, obviously, you know, we've got the COVID-15 going on and the desire to get rid of it. But how are you seeing that influence, you know, what's going on with the Endcap in a way that you, or the virtual Endcap that you hadn't seen before? How are the consumer changes in their lifestyles and what they're looking for? How are you tracking that and addressing it with your digital and on inline shopper marketing?
I can go if you want. So certainly the digital shelf has grown in importance, right? So making sure that we've got all the right information, updated pack shots, like getting those basics and those fundamentals, you know, 100% right across all channels. And you know, from where I sit on US Lactalis yogurt, we've seen obviously tremendous growth in our larger multi-serve formats, and that has a lot to do with people obviously being at home in the state or homeowners, but people are taking more of an interest in their health and wellness, as well as cooking more meals at home. So, you know, we've adjusted some of our strategies and some of the things that we're incorporating in our storytelling or story doing, right? And prompting our consumers and our shoppers to you know, make a alternative version of maybe one of their favorite recipes with a spin on it, like a healthier mac and cheese lightened up with Greek yogurt, for example, or a really simple thing that you can involve your kids in, which is a pizza dough, 2-ingredient pizza dough. That's one of our most popular recipes. And making sure that, you know, we're providing and prompting on those opportunities and providing content for those shoppers that are looking for ways to, you know, cook something at home that may be a little bit healthier, but at the same time, you know, also meeting shoppers where they are with looking for things that are a little bit more indulgent. We have a brand called Brown Cow Yogurt that's a full cream top yogurt. Same thing, you know, shoppers are looking to indulge a little bit more and making sure that we're providing opportunities for that brand within that context of indulgence and treating yourself.
We could probably work together. Our strategy is quite similar. Freak Flag Organics is really it's a platform. We'd like to believe, and I do believe, that our products taste great on their own, but it's a platform to kind of get your freak on, so to speak. So meaning, particularly with a shelf-stable item, whether it's our broths or our up-and-coming mac and freak or mac and cheese products that are coming out, where you can hack your mac and improve upon them, you know, personalize them, take them to the next level, which of course is on trend with, as we know, just the pantry stuffing and so on and so forth, all the way to the home cooking, and I think people improving upon wanting to eat cleaner foods. So we found good success with that, and I think, you know, trends will I hope continue in that direction.
I mean, I'll pull up the rear here and represent the indulgent snack side of all of this. Yeah, I mean, we've certainly seen, certainly over the last year with COVID and lockdowns, that consumers are turning to comfort foods, things that are familiar, things that make them feel good. And so, you know, as Hostess, you know, we recognize our place in people's plethora of food choices, you know, and we have been very happy with the fact that consumers are turning back to maybe brands that they're familiar with from their past, or introducing those brands and products to their kids as a sweet treat. So I think we're seeing sort of this idea of balancing emerge, that there's certainly a huge place for healthy foods, cleaner foods, but there's still this need, an emotional need that comes through from consumers that, want that sweet treat, that want to sort of, just treat themselves or reward themselves in some way that makes them really feel good. And I think we've all needed those moments over the last year for sure. So, so that's what we've been seeing.
Well, when we have a heritage brand like Hostess, right, you have not just digital discovery, but digital rediscovery. So I'd love to know, and this from each of you, but we'll start with Lisa. Is there one thing that you can share that, even if it was a small course correction, that really surprised you with the results that you got?
I think we're in a very interesting and wonderful place in our journey. I mean, we were just starting to really ramp up our e-commerce efforts before COVID really hit. And so, call it happenstance. We got lucky, I think, in that we were doing all of those wonderful basics that Ali highlighted earlier in the earlier question of, really making sure that our digital shelf was a really great user experience, that we were showing up well. I think what matters to consumers, especially in the in today's day and age with all of the different modes of shopping, is accessibility for a brand, and being accessible as a brand is really key. So we really focused on accessibility. Yes, we were available and still are available very much so in the physical store, but we needed to make sure that we were accessible in other ways as well, especially as consumer behaviors were really starting to shift. I think the biggest surprise for me, I'll speak more personally, is the fact that e-commerce grocery shopping really did rapidly evolve. I mean, we weren't predicting these changes for another, 3, 4, 5 years. And, having the largest growth of grocery shopping be among boomers really tells me that we've gotten over the hump of sort of that nervousness that might have existed, or sort of that unfamiliarity with the digital environment, or maybe even the lack of trust of, if I put my credit card here, will it show up on time? Do I have to go pick it up? Like, how do I do that? Just figuring out all the logistics. I think everybody really figured that out, and they were almost sort of forced to, so I think that the big surprise is that more people came online than really expected. And I think it just underscores the importance of an omni-channel marketing approach. You have to have both the physical and the digital now, and you have to think about it collectively. You can't really think about those two environments in silos anymore. And I think that's probably the challenge that a lot of certainly CPG, but other marketers are facing as well, is that, there's very traditional ways of working inside big corporations or small corporations, and they have to evolve, and they have to evolve really, really quickly, because that's how the consumer is behaving today.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ali, I'd love to know if there's one thing that you can share, a specific example of something that you did that, even if it didn't work, the thing that didn't work, but just something over the past year that we can learn a little from.
I think we'd all agree that no one was really expecting Instacart to take off as much as it did.
Exactly.
Prior to COVID, Instacart was really not even in our realm of, pieces that we needed to make sure we addressed. Due to the pandemic, and to Lisa's point, due to the shift in how shoppers shop, and really looking to these third-party services to deliver on speed, safety, and convenience, when that's what shoppers were really looking for at the height of the pandemic. And you could see that grow in importance regionally across the country as COVID became more and more of a crisis across, from coast to coast. I think that the elevated importance of Instacart in our e-commerce plans was definitely something that was a pivot that we had to plan for. It was really interesting to see Lisa's point too, of kind of the reprioritization of where getting our basics right, and then how long that was going to take us to do. kind of jump to the number one thing on our list, right? Pretty quickly overnight. And I always laugh with my team because right before the lockdown orders in March, I was up at our headquarters in New Hampshire giving a talk to our team about shopper trends and the future of shopper marketing. 1 year later, I revisit that presentation and I laugh because the discipline of shopper marketing has completely changed, gone left, right, upside down, and center about 3 times over, as I'm sure you can all sympathize. And replanning and replanning and replanning was the name of the game for 2020. And, still with a lot of uncertainty in 2021 and where we're still sort of waiting to see where the chips might fall. But for sure, those silos have been absolutely shattered between physical in-store shopper and digital shopper. And it's this gray space that we're looking to attack and make sure, and I saw it in the comments, shopportunities. I like that. I'm going to take it back with me. Making sure that we're capitalizing on all those shopportunities across everything that we do, all of the digital touch points, and how do those digital touch points translate to something in store? How are we getting on the list pre-shop if that shop doesn't even happen while in store? So again, the importance of Instacart, the importance of pivoting with our customers on buy online, pick up in store, which is kind of challenging from a refrigerated grocery perspective. There's only so much space. So making sure that, those things are very much baked into our plans and our considerations for the future. It was definitely something that accelerated overnight.
Yeah.
I want to jump in just on something before Fred jumps back in, but something that Allie mentioned that I think warrants being underscored, which is, cleaning up your digital shelf or upgrading your digital shelf is not an easy task. It does take a long time. I think that is another surprise too in this space. I mean, we've been, hearing about e-commerce for so long, and a lot of consumer packaged good brands have been in the e-commerce space for a few years, some of them doing it incredibly well and at very sophisticated levels. And I think that was definitely another surprise that not only Hostess brands, but other brands have inevitably stumbled upon, is that updating your digital shelf from imagery to product descriptions to syncing across to pulling down old items or old SKUs is a very laborious process. And I know there's somebody smart out there that's probably going to help us figure all that out. But I think the e-commerce space is not as evolved or as sophisticated as maybe we have hoped. And so I know it will get there very quickly. It just, I think, adds more pressure to us on the marketing side to make sure we're keeping up with the industry, keeping up with the new technologies and the new technology partners and platforms that are going to help everybody do that in a much more user-friendly and rapid way.
Yeah, great point. Fred, is there anything that you can point
They're
to?
rock stars. I mean, certainly Instacart was a surprise. The insane acceleration of online shopping adoption, when 81% of the folks prior to in the country prior to the pandemic had never shopped for groceries online, and now the number 79%. I mean, obviously that's a massive change. For us, it's interesting as a small brand, and Lisa just alluded to it. As a small brand, you actually now have 2 fronts that you really need to spend money in. And that's a big surprise. You can't just think about it, obviously, in terms of shopper marketing. And when you think of D2C, the dreamland, of course, is that you don't have to go to Amazon. You don't have to go to these other shops. But indeed, you're going to get crushed if you don't, in our world, our CPG world, if you don't embrace Amazon. So for us, one of the surprises, of course, is, wow, my budget has to be double or triple what I thought it was going to be, because I have to use Amazon not just as a opportunity to sell product, but quite frankly, as a marketing and awareness program as well. So now that was a bit of a surprise. The other surprise, coming from the advertising world, you kind of think, well, I'll just go get the woman behind Goop and she'll be my celebrity and we'll go for it. She'll be my big Instagram person. When in reality, what we found is that the smaller, the nano influencers, for us, the authentic grassroots influencers are the ones that really rock it for us. Now, maybe that's different for some other brands, but that was a bit of a surprise for me as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And, since you brought up influencers, I'll just stay with you for a second. What role do you see social media playing differently now than it did a year ago?
That's a huge question. I think, it's only going to accelerate and grow. I have heard that there's some fatigue with influencers, in general. Now I'm talking about the influencer side. That's why I think probably the nano, more authentic, smaller followings of these individual influencers they'll have higher engagement rates. So I think there's something there. I think, there's going to be more and more, and this is a different issue altogether, but it's going to be really interesting to see how brands deal with social issues, quite frankly, using the other side of social. What do they stand for, and how are they going to be involved or not involved in various political issues that will continue to come to the forefront?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
just going to jump in here with some questions for you guys, but this is all really great information. And I actually want to follow up about influencers in social, but first, just in terms of going back to Lisa and actually Ali as well, when you're talking about being in a silo and how you can no longer obviously look at e-commerce and physical in a siloed way, what are you doing to evolve? Have you taken any steps at this point? And Lisa, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough ship to turn around, especially for organizations where, shopper marketing is been well established. I've certainly worked in those organizations in the past. I'm lucky because at Hostess Brands, we are really, we have the opportunity to evolve and evolve pretty quickly. And so we've been really looking more and more at, especially through our media and marketing plans, like how to touch the shopper both, online and in store. And so a lot of our plans are actually very multi-channel in that sense, that we recognize that the consumer is bouncing back and forth. And so, we might want to reach them on their mobile when they're in and around a retail environment, and then reach them again when they're in store and they could see, in aisle shelf talker, they could get another mobile ping. And so we're really flexing both of those tools or all of those tools to our advantage, and really focusing on the consumer, keeping the consumer at the core of everything. And then, we've got all the tools in the same toolbox. So we're able to kind of pull those out and really work those together to reach the consumer in that right moment.
Right. And Natalie, for you, in terms of getting into that gray area, I guess, as you talked about.
Yeah, so I think that an important piece of it from the e-commerce perspective, and something we touched on about the dwell time and browse time, is the importance of search, kind of in that fundamentals and getting your basics right. So discoverability on the digital shelf, and being able to, yogurt is a huge category and a wildly competitive category, and there's lots of brands that offer a same proposition. So how are you going to stand out? How are you going to reach that shopper and provide our product that has a solution to one of their need states, right? So making sure that I would say that search is part of the overall plan. And I think that from Lisa, what you were saying about the media plans and whatnot, starting to think more holistically about our approach to media, and include in those upfront high level conversations those retail media networks. In part of the awareness driving function that the brand marketing team puts forward, and then looking to the shopper and e-commerce team to really work on those conversion tactics, and how do we bridge the two? How do those things come together, and how do we just tweak the message from a shopper perspective so it's not coming out of left field, that it still ladders up to that brand proposition, but also, really drives the urgency to get in the basket today, be it the physical basket or the virtual basket.
Very true. And you guys definitely were thrown into the fire this year, so, in terms of trying to get all that going. Well, thank you guys so much. This was really great, really informative. Denise, you did a great job leading these guys. And thank you, Ali and Lisa and Fred. We really appreciate you taking the time, and it was a great panel.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank
having us.
you.
Thank you.